Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
All right, everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Frankly Francisco podcast. Today, I am flying solo once again. This episode is not going to be too long. Just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about something that's been bothering me. And I think it bothers a lot of people as well. We get that feeling of burnout. Uh, in the workforce area and are trying to pursue our dreams, it can happen to the best of us, no matter how strong we think we are sometimes, no matter how hard we try to push through a lot of the time. Sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you can't help but feel like there's an anchor strapped to your leg and it's dragging you down to the point where you feel like you're going to drown. And this is the times where you need to do some self-care. And what I mean by self-care is if you have a job and you're allotted PTO, take the PTO. Don't work yourself to death. Don't burn yourself out to the point where you don't want to come back. Sometimes these jobs can make it difficult for you to actually get that self-care. And then you end up getting sick. You end up leaving the job, going on FML because you've had it mentally and you can't deal with it anymore. And a lot of people don't understand that. Most companies and most corporations will replace you the next day or within a week or two. So take care of yourselves. I don't think we do a good job of that. Me, myself included. I'm always working. Look at me right now. I'm always, trying to stay consistent because I think consistency is a key to a lot of things. But at the same time, we need to learn when to take a step back. And, I haven't done that lately. Not from the goals that I've tried to achieve and tried to reach. And sometimes it can be hard. You get drained mentally. And sometimes you just don't want to keep moving. I'm to that point right now where I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I need to stop. Maybe I need to stop recording. Maybe I need to stop telling people stories for a while and take a step back and, breathe a little bit. But I know I can do both. I know I can continue doing this. I know I can step back and breathe. I'll be out of town next week to get some R&R. Up in the mountains, just relaxing. Not worried about anything that doesn't relate to what I'm doing. And I think sometimes we need to do that. There's a lot going on in the world. And I think overstimulation is a big thing for a lot of people. The news cycle, personal life, work-life balance, sometimes you can overstimulate, and you can wear yourself thin and beat yourself down a little bit too much. Sometimes you feel like you're not accomplishing enough, even though you think you're putting in the work. But sometimes it feels like you're just talking to yourself and you feel like nobody's listening to the message that you're trying to convey to people, or they're not listening to the work that you're putting out. And a lot of people get tired and they leave because they feel like it's not showing. It's not showing what they're doing. It's not showing the hard work that they're putting in. But in this type of business, you have to understand it's not going to happen overnight. And I think a lot of the time, I don't knock any celebrity at all for making their money. I just personally think that some of these celebrities are taking the shine away from some of these podcasters. These guys who are grinding out, looking for guests, putting in the work, editing their own stuff. A lot of us don't have the money for the studio, the Hollywood production. A lot of these celebrities do. They go into these top-notch studios. And even when you see some of these celebrities looking like they're just sitting on the couch and talking, that's all produced. That's all heavily, heavily produced. A lot of us don't have that advantage. And that's okay, because we can still put out good content. We can still have great conversations with people. Doesn't mean that we can't put out a good product. We do. It's just not being seen by a lot of people or heard by a lot of people. Sometimes it feels like, you put out something, but a celebrity puts out the same thing. Let's say you put it out first, but the celebrity copied you. They're going to follow the celebrity because they already have a built in fan base. Sometimes it feels like some of these celebs are drowning out a lot of the talent that's out there in the podcast world. And some of you may agree with that. Some of you may not. Either way it goes is true. There are literally 3 or 4 million podcasts in the world, but the majority of those podcasts are being seen and heard by people who are celebrities. It's easy for a celebrity to get another celebrity to come on the show. It's not easy for the podcasters who are breaking in trying to get celebrities on the show. It's hard enough trying to get other podcasters on the show. It's hard enough getting TikTokers to try to come on your show because these guys get these big heads because they got 300,000 followers or 5 million followers. They think that they're above you and they don't realize they had to work to get where they are. They had to work the same way you're working to get where you are. I've seen them firsthand trying to talk to people on IG, trying to talk to people on Facebook, people who have big followings, just to bring them on the show and have a conversation. Some of these podcasts are actually charging people now. I mean, that to me, that's crazy. It's like payola, like back in the radio days. Some of these podcasters are charging guests up to $50,000 to come on their show. Good for them. They're making that scrap. I mean, that's good for them. But that is absolutely insane to me. 50 G's just to sit in the studio and have a conversation. So that person can get their product out. I mean, it's an investment. You go on a popular enough show, people are going to listen. They are going to listen. But there's no guarantee that that investment that you made onto that show is going to help generate dollars. Now, if they set up in such a way where they're going to promote your stuff for the next couple of weeks after paying that 50 grand, then yes. But it's amazing how now we've gotten to that point where we're treating podcasting like the radio. It's amazing. They're charging that kind of money to come on a podcast because that podcaster is that popular. We all dream of getting to that top. We all dream of getting to that point. It's not all going to happen. It's not always going to happen. We're not always going to reach the goal of becoming a full-time podcaster. It's doable. It is doable, but can it happen for the majority of us? No. And I love guys like Gary V who scream, "Oh, I don't care about, what anybody else is doing. And the money's out there." And listen, I like Gary V to a point, but sometimes he talks nonsense. In this business, every podcaster is looking at what every other podcaster is doing. Period. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't have podcasters out there stealing other podcasters' content or trying to copy a podcaster's style. Podcasters are always watching podcasters. It's a wide community. You can make friends in this business, but like I said before, nobody wants you to be better than them. They come up with courses on how to, become a good podcaster, or they come up with businesses on how to establish a good podcast. See, those guys I love. So those guys I enjoy listening to because they're trying to help people. Some people, on the other hand, are trying to milk people for all they're worth. Oh, I'll teach you how to do this. I'll make your podcast in top 100, or I'll make your podcast top 50. All these people who are saying that, they're in it to help you. And at the end of the day, you have to come out your pocket for that. For something that there's no guarantee that they're going to make you what they say they're going to make you. It's a crapshoot. Just like the draft. You can draft a player number 1 overall, and he'll burn out in 3 years. And then you draft somebody that's number 30, and he'll be a Hall of Famer. That's just how it is. It's the odds. But don't sit here and tell me that you're not worried about what other podcasters are doing. Of course you are. Especially if they're in the same genre or subgenre that you're doing. And I think sometimes you get burned out doing that. You get burned out worrying about what everybody else is doing. See, my burnout is not coming from podcasting. See, my burnout is coming from just my regular 9 to 5. Podcasting is what I love to do. I love talking to people. Even when I'm tired, like I am now, I still come on here, put in the work, put out my product for everybody to hear and see. It may not be the best product every once in a while. Once in a while, it's gonna be junk. Once in a while, I'm gonna put out a bad show. It happens to everybody. Not everybody can have a great show every show. It really depends on your guest. It really depends on yourself, how enthusiastic you are when it comes to doing your podcast that day, what your energy level is. See, I can fake my energy level. I don't think a lot of people can do that because I have to do it for a living. You have to fake your energy level when you're talking to people sometimes. You can be the most miserable person in the world and be tired and just be worn out and done and still can jack that energy up to do what you need to do. It's the same thing in podcasting. When I record, even when I don't want to record, I still get up, still do my thing on the microphone, and still put my product out. Because this is something for me that means something. It may not mean stuff to a lot of people. You have people who do podcasts and man, it doesn't work out 2-3 months. I'm bored and move on to the next thing. This is not boredom for me. This is something I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can. As long as there's a microphone in front of me, as long as I have internet, as long as I have a camera, I'm going to keep talking to you folks. I'm going to keep interviewing folks. I'm going to keep putting people's stories out there. That's never going to stop. And I may not make a gazillion bucks at it, but at least it's something that I know that I didn't give up on, even if I'm feeling burned out on everything else. And I think sometimes I have to take a step back from podcasting too. Even though I don't want to, sometimes I have to take a pause from interviewing guests and just do a solo podcast like this, just for peace of mind. Talking to guests are great, but sometimes you have to have a conversation on your own. And you need to be vulnerable for your audience to understand the type of person that you are when you're talking. You have to open up. The only way the audience is going to get to know you is if you are genuine and authentic. You can't be fake. I'm not perfect in what I do here. I'm going to make mistakes. I might breathe heavy into the microphone every once in a while. You may hear, a word slip the wrong way, but this is not Hollywood. We're not polishing this. This is never going to be polished. That's the whole point of podcasting, is to be real in what you're doing. You can clean up the sound. You can make your sound as good, but you can't, I started out that way and I did. It drove my wife absolutely nuts. I would record something and then I said, I don't like this and I'm going to scrap it and start all over again. I'm not doing that now. I don't have that type of energy. I'm going to give you the best that I can give you in one take. And if I slip up, I slip up. If I can cut it out and put everything together to make it sound like I didn't slip up, fine. If I can't, guess what? It's staying in there. Because it's too much work for you to do retake after retake after retake. If I'm on a roll and I like something, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and then pick it back up. Or if I didn't like how something was going, but there was a really good line in there or a really minute or two of stuff that I was talking about, I'll go back in, splice it, and put it together with the rest of the podcast. I'm not doing what I did when I first started, which is stop recording altogether, scrap it because I didn't like the way the vibe was going. You learn these things as you go on. And me doing this for 16 months, 17 months now, I've learned not to overthink it. And I think that's one of the biggest things when it comes to podcasting. Don't overthink it. A lot of podcasters get burned out because they overthink it. If you love doing this stuff, this is something that you enjoy doing, just do it. You have guys like JR from West Virginia on Commonplace. The guy really tries to help people. Even people that don't support him, he goes out and he does his best to try to help him. So shout out to him. You have guys like Pat. He does the same thing. Always posting on Instagram, on ways how to start a podcast or ways to improve your podcast. And he's passing this knowledge on for free. Shout out to Pat too from Possegram. It's hard when you want to accomplish something and then you get tired and you don't want to give up. But sometimes you do get tired. So this journey is not for everybody. It's not. I mean, you got a lot of talented people out there. There's some people I wish did have a podcast. One of the people that I interviewed, Martinez got jokes. It's one of the, like, this guy is super ultra talented. I think he would do great as a podcaster, but his path, might be a little bit different. There's some people you can see in this business that can do well, and he's one of them. So shout out to him. But the journey's not for everybody. Everybody's going to have a different space. Everybody's going to find what works for them. Some people do scripted shows, which some of these scripted shows are fantastic. The storytelling in them, it's high quality stuff. It's great. Voice actors, everything. It's amazing. Everybody has their space that they're working in, and, everybody has their niche. My niche I would classify it as, question and answer interviewing. A lot of people do their own thing, whereas, they relationship goals or finance. Mine is question and answering because I ask people questions and they answer, but it's not just in a certain genre. It's everything. I'm across the board. Religion, I stayed away with that for a long time, but I'm doing that. Politics, if somebody wants to do a show about that, relationship, it doesn't matter. I'm willing to have an open platform for a reason. I'm willing to have a conversation with people. Even when other people are not willing to have those conversations, I will have that conversation. Doesn't matter how crazy it sounds for some people, I'm that guy who's willing to talk and willing to have those. But, we're at that point now where, sometimes some of us got to slow down. And for me, I think I'm going to do that here soon and, take a step back for a second and breathe and be grateful for how far I've gotten already doing this and not having a clue on how to do it. Was, as you go, YouTube University was one of the biggest influences for me, is using YouTube for everything to find out what mics to use and, how to get started and what sites to host. And it's a lot. It can be overwhelming for some podcasters or people who are just starting out. Just take your time and breathe. This is not a short race. This is a marathon. It's not a quarter mile. You got a long way to go in this if you want to be successful. And it'll come. You'll find your spot. Some people blow up fast, some people don't. We just have to pace ourselves and go about it. But listen, I appreciate everybody listening in that's going to listen in this weekend. This is one of my shorter episodes. Just wanted to talk for a little while. Don't give up. Don't give up. Even when burnout is around the corner, even when you feel it, and you feel that heat on your neck, and you feel like, you just want to give up and move somewhere and not worry about anybody, don't give up. There's too much out there for you, too much purpose for you to have. Somebody wants to hear you. Somebody wants to hear your voice. Somebody wants to hear your story. 6 billion people on the planet. Believe me when I tell you that. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. And I'll leave you what I always leave you with. No matter what anybody tells you, if you found your purpose, live it. Talk to you folks later.